Alright, we're on the hunt for Zagymnus clerinus, a member of the longhorn family, at beautiful Botany Bay Wildlife Management Area in Charleston County, South Carolina. Now, Zagymnus clerinus is not supposed to be in South Carolina, but it is. Its generally accepted range is all up the east coast of Florida, with a few specimens found in Georgia. Not exactly sure where in Georgia, but I would assume southern Georgia, if not just one vagrant specimen. Now, how Zagymnus clerinus got here after it was described by LeConte in the 1800s without anyone noticing is the mystery, because the palmetto is the state tree of my home state of South Carolina, where we currently are. So, to me, this seems like something we should have noticed a long time ago. And I have circumstantial evidence that they have been here since at least the 60s. Now, the easiest way to tell that you have Zagymnus clerinus, which I guess I will just refer to now as the sable palmetto longhorn, although that's just as much of a mouthful, but I don't think it has a common name. I was introduced to this species by Bob Gimmel, and an expert in clarids, but an amateur nonetheless. He's a biochemist by profession, but beetle hunter by love. Now, some of these palmettos, you can see the emergence holes of Zagymnus clerinus, and they're very, very well pronounced. And I've been out here for the last 4 hours surveying all the trees to the northeast of the trailhead for Zagymnus clerinus. And I found about a dozen trees up here that I'm 100% sure have emergence holes. We came out here 2 days ago and we found an adult Zagymnus clerinus sable palmetto longhorn beetle, which was awesome, and I got some photos, but I feel like the photos don't do it justice, so I'd like to document this with a video. Now, that discovery has got me all fired up, and I want to research this thing. I want to know everything about it, because as far as I can tell, nobody knows jack shit. And we're approaching a tree over here that has emergence holes on it. I believe it is this one right here in front of us. And all the trees around it have emergence holes as well. There it is. There's a second one on the other side. Now, this tree is not very old. I'm not confident on how fast palmettos grow, but I'd say that thing is less than 30 years old. Which would put it in the mid-80s. Now, there's a tree in my yard that my uncle transplanted from this island in the late 60s, early 70s. We're not sure which year, but we've got it down to about a 5-year range. And it has emergence holes on it in my yard. A good 20 miles up the North Edisto from here. And these holes are on branches, or on the bases of frond petioles that are at most 8 years old. So either, and I found at least 3 emergence holes on that tree. So that tells me that either Zagymnus clerinus is spreading northward up the east coast and establishing it, or this species is very hardy and very long-lived and very resistant to inbreeding depression, and has existed on this tree for a good 45 years. So far I've noticed on these palmettos that most emergence holes seem to be at a north to west orientation, meaning that they're the most shielded from, well, that they're not so much shielded from the wind, but they're definitely shielded from the salt spray to a degree. And all of these emergence holes seem to be 5 to 6 years old as far as fronds go. So I'm gonna back myself in a corner. Time to backtrack. But anyway, these fronds are, by my guess, somewhere between 5 and 8 years old. And for most of the trees here, that seems to be the same. So, by my guesstimations, Zagymnus clerinus prefers fronds that have been dead for a while, which to me would say that they've had plenty of time to chemically decompose any compounds that may be hazardous to insect ingestion, and that their gestation period as a larva, well, not gestation period, the time they spend as a larvae is no more than 4 years. They also seem to prefer either trees below 8 feet in height with plenty of fronds and plenty of wind exposure, or trees like that one with lots of wind that are very tall and have very few fronds, or very few dead fronds, like the one in my yard. Also, at a local church, I checked some of their landscape trees, and of the 6 trees they have, 5 of them have emergence holes. 100% Zagymnus clerinus. And the age of those emergence holes is about 8 years, which is when they were planted, and there's none earlier. And many of the trees here look like they prefer to emerge after 6 years. So I don't believe there is a population there, because I've yet to see any holes above 8 years when they were transplanted. But that tells me that the plantation they came from has Zagymnus clerinus. and probably a lot of them on most trees. Now, from what I can gather, there is some transplantation of palmettos from Florida to South Carolina for the landscape trade. How pronounced is this? I don't know. Something I need to look at. But I definitely think there's a chance that these beetles were imported from Florida and are now established here in South Carolina.